The last thing about paperwork is that I find, and again, part of this today is just to say, to kind of look at how other people do paperwork and just look at paperwork in a different way than maybe we all don't look at paperwork in the same fashion is my point. So I kind of look at paperwork as when we had to do homework as a kid. Everybody was a different type of student. Those that turned their homework in on time, those that did their homework much ahead of time, those like my son that wait until the last minute to turn in homework, but he only waits till the last minute on the stuff he doesn't like. If he likes it, he'll get it out of the way. And so I don't know, I equate paperwork to doing homework. So with that, I kind of wanted to just ask a few questions of different people. So here it goes. So the first question, I guess, is for my dad.
Okay, I'm the lucky one.
You're the lucky one, the broker. So the question is, how do you look at paperwork in general, on the higher level?
What you said before, that paperwork is not exciting, it is really, really true. It has never been excited today or 40 years ago when we used to have about 2 or 3 forms. Right. It's the same thing, okay? How can you make it exciting? There's no way to make it exciting, okay? Now, going back to the paperwork that we need is I'm going to separate in 2 categories. One is the ones that are statutory by state law. In other words, these are the things that we need to have them in the file. Example, agency, transfer disclosure, this kind of things that we cannot close a file without them. And then we have the other category, which is really necessary for the elimination of liability of the office, like walkthrough, final walkthrough, this kind of things, home warranty. Okay, they're not mandated by the state. You can close a file without them, but the company and you guys are going to be exposed to liability if there's a claim. And also, if we have completed all these things that are mandated by the office, we cut our deduction from the E&O insurance by 50%. So that's another incentive to really have all those forms completed.
Yeah, and I forgot that a walkthrough is not by law, but just something that's a good thing to have to protect you. I forgot
exactly that. For the protection of the office and the agents. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. There you go. Carmen, you're there somewhere, and Marie. Oh, there you are. I found you.
Hello.
I think for just a second, do you mind if I show the checklist and we just kind of go over it for just a second? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, here comes. Okay, so this is the regular checklist for a single family. So what would be some of the biggest changes in the last year or so?
Due to the pandemic.
True. Okay. Yeah.
The DRE added the residential listing coronavirus addendum.
Okay. So here, this one. All right.
And the PED seller.
Okay. And I guess I do have a question. I never knew you needed a PED seller. What's the difference between the two?
On the PED seller, the seller acknowledges that they don't have COVID.
Okay.
And that they haven't been exposed to anyone that has COVID.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, the other one, I thought that was incorporated within the CAA one, but the CAA one just, talks about whether it's okay to take pictures or do whatever, I guess. But,
correct.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's any, down here, the PED
yes,
dash. Okay, so this whole section here.
And also right above the PED buyer, there's the FHDA.
But is that in the contract?
It's now in the contract.
Okay,
Yes, but it was not there last year.
okay. All right. What else? What else? I think that's it. And so the one other thing we
Oh,
tried
the
to
other
do,
thing is at the bottom, the
Mhm.
permit timeline, Chris, that's fairly new.
right. Okay.
And the problem is that that is not a normal form that you will find in your SIP forms. That's something that I will provide. That is why it's important for
Uh-oh.
the agents to upload their sales, you know, to the to .loop and write them on the board. And that
So
way I get that document for you as soon as possible.
who initiates that?
The permit timeline
Mhm.
or .loop, the agents are supposed to open their
Permit timeline.
okay, that one I order it when I'm reviewing the file in the beginning. I go to a website that Mel that our E&O insurance sent Mel.
This is
And-
provided by the E&O insurance, but unfortunately in our areas, they do not keep electronic files for the permits. Is that correct, Carmen?
Correct, yes. That
Okay,
is a document that they go into the different cities, depending on what city your property is located on. And they run the records to see if there's any permits that, you know, we could share with the buyer. It's very important because at the bottom of the form, it lets the buyer know that they're, you know, they need to go to the city to check if there are any to verify those permits or there's anything else that they should know. And that the agents will not be held liable for anything that is not permitted or whatnot.
Hey, Carmen. It's Mario. Real quick, I don't see the new form that has been in the last several. It's a DIA. I think it's a DIA. I could be wrong on the letters, but it's that 2 or 3 page one that we added like 6 months ago. Is that on there? Or am I thinking?
No, yeah, it's not on here. We still have not talked about it. Like Mel says there's
I can't.
And
there's
some
too
that
much time. I
want.
can't hear what you said, Carmen.
something is breaking up, guys. Somebody else on the
Mar-
line?
I muted him. I muted you. Go ahead.
Okay, so Mario,
Yeah. What about the?
that's one of the,
How come the
that's not
DIA is not on here?
because we haven't been having meetings,
Oh,
staff meetings. I've been able to discuss that with management yet.
oh.
It's a good practice to have the DIA, but can you guys hear me? It's
Yeah.
good practice to have it, but if you don't have it, you know, that's fine too, because you have a seller's advisory where it also, the seller knows exactly what the Department of Real Estate requires from the seller with regards to forms.
And the DIA says what again? I mean, you just in short.
It's a little more detailed. It's a
Okay.
little more detailed. But once again, that is a form that I do need to speak to Mel about. I know I've been having you do it. But yes, I'll go ahead and review that form with Mel and Rita and Michael and Marie as soon as, you know, we start having meetings.
Okay.
The other thing was, yeah, so here's the checklist, pretty simple. And then one other one, I'll just show you the other one. So this is if there's a trust, same idea. And so if you have a listing and there's a trust, then it matters whether the person is the seller of record is alive or passed away, right? And
Correct.
if the person is alive, they would still do the TDS and the SPQ, right?
It
If-
would be
if-
like,
What was that?
It would be like a regular sale with the exception of including the trust advisory and the representative capacity form.
Right. Okay, so just let me show that real quick, just to repeat what she said. So if the person is alive, which means that they're individuals, they happen to have a trust, but they are alive, they will do the SPQ, the TDS, and all that good stuff. These are the two forms that I'm circling here that are still needed, just because it still spells out what a trust is, even though this form normally spells out what the seller, if the successor trustee, it spells out what they don't have to do. It at least explains to a buyer what a trust is. And then the other one, what did oh, the RCSD, this one here. Oops, sorry. So this is the one, of course, if it's an entity like a trust, you still put this one. Fair enough, those two?
Yes, you also need a representative capacity when it's a LLC or, you know, so
Okay.
you will also need that with those, which is not in the regular purchase checklist,
Mm-hmm.
but only because as much as we want to have like a perfect checklist, they're all different. Every transaction is very different.
Right.
So that's why sometimes I add additional forms to your checklist, because your file is being analyzed, and according to the file's needs, then you know, sometimes it's not going to be exactly like this.
Right.
So I just need you guys to be mentally prepared for that.
Okay. So I guess I'm gonna ask that question. That was a question I had, so I'll just say it. I feel sometimes, and if I feel it, probably others feel it. Inside, I say, well, I thought I did all the disclosures. Why is she giving me more stuff? But in actuality, you know, when we talk about it, it's not the case. It's just, you know, so what are some cases where, you know, they throw, you know, you may ask for other things. What are some cases?
For example, we know for sure that you're not going to get your buyer's agent avid in the beginning of the transaction, because that is something that buyer's agents usually do at their home inspection. If there's modifications to the contract, repair requests, you add a new buyer, or there's things that come up that I didn't have knowledge in the beginning with the purchase contract. For example, sometimes I don't know they're an LLC until I get the escrow instructions. Or sometimes they switch from being a regular buyer to being an LLC, or they switch it to a trust. So there's just a lot of little factors that sometimes, you know, I'm not aware of that come up until later on in the transaction.
You said something when I asked that question a while back, and you said in your mind, you look at it as 3 times in a transaction, you send, you know, a checklist, you know, in an email form, right? The initial one, you said in the middle, and then, you know, at the end. And as you said, yeah, the buyer's agent may send an avid if it's your listing, you know, or as Richard, you know, Richard, who does my paperwork now, he says, yeah, no, the other office has some, you know, pardon my French, with some BS form that they want your side to sign that they throw at you. So.
And sometimes keep in mind, they don't send it until 5 days before you close escrow, by the way.
Right. And everybody handles it a different way. And, you know, so I guess for me, when you put it that way, to kind of look at it in phases, it kind of helped me to kind of go, okay, well, because I guess when I first do the disclosures, let's say with the seller, I kind of have that feeling, okay, I got everything out of the way. She's not going to bother me again. And it's like, that's the wrong attitude to take, because there's other stuff that's going to come up. So
If the price changes, you know, additional buyer's agent disclosures, sometimes other agents, they don't send their avid until, like I said, 5 days before you close escrow.
right.
And the other thing is, I started implementing, I noticed that I get better feedback from text messages. So a lot of times, I'll rather just, because my checklists are very repetitive. The checklists are in .loop. They're at the bottom of your file. So I started texting and letting you know, hey, congratulations on your new sale. I ordered the NHD, I uploaded the addendum to the SBSA and the permit timeline. Please reference the tasks section at the bottom of your .loop file for a complete list of the documents pending.
Okay, time out. You're not getting away with that one by just slipping that in. Like, did everyone hear what she just said? That was my one pro tip for the day that I did not know. So here it goes. Here it goes. Say it again. Where can you find your tasks? Go ahead, Carmen.
At the bottom of your file.
I did not know that. See this? She does it on every single file. And so when it's done, she's the one that checks it off. And then this list goes from being really big and shrinks. So some of us may rely on the Carmen checklist email, but I never knew this existed. Where was I? Oh, well. So that's kind of neat. I just wanted to show that. So on the bottom of every single loop is a task list that she puts in that is basically, it's mimicking your other checklist, Carmen?
Correct, yes. And I add any additional forms. For example, here you'll see at the very top, it says seller multiple counteroffer number 1, confirmation of acceptance initialed by the buyer's agent or buyers.
Mm-hmm.
RPA page 10, the seller forgot to check the subject to attached multiple counter. Oh, I forgot to the typing, but I checked the box, and now all the parties need to initial there to acknowledge the change. And then the RPA page 10, signed by the listing agent.
Okay. I got that one today, by the way.
So if we see this, let's say on a Monday, and we tackle like 6 of these, we won't see that the 6 are checked off until the next time she does the checklist, which is in the middle of, it's either in the beginning, the middle, or the end. So it's kind of gets a little confusing if we can't check it off, which I can understand the disaster in doing that, because she needs to check it off.
Well, what you could do, you could also add a little note if you click the little dots, Michael, on the side.
Right here.
Click on it,
Okay.
rename.
Oh, and I could say,
And you could put a little note at the end that says
Done or something.
done or uploaded on such and such.
Okay, that works.
good. Okay. So yeah, I couldn't let you slip that one by saying, without saying it. Okay. What was it? Okay. What would you say makes a good agent in terms of paperwork? And I don't know if Marie's on, oh yeah, Marie's on the line, but either one.
A good agent would be someone that turns in their paperwork before the close of escrow. Just to make sure that we're in compliance with the DRE and that, if you're ever in litigation in the court of law, you're protected. So
Okay.
it's what I would do if I were, the agent. I would probably follow up, make sure that I would mentally prepare at least at the minimum that 5 days before we close escrow to really look at my file, look at the checklist, make sure that all of the pending documents, are that I work on those documents to make sure that my file is complete and that
Okay.
I get paid, at the close of escrow. Because it's
Okay.
very difficult to chase other offices once escrow closes.
Yeah, that's over.
And I'm available.
I-
You could call me anytime, text me.
What were you gonna say,
And
Marie?
in response to that question, I think most importantly is we're not just sending this out for your clients to e-sign. We want them to read the document. And I think the makings of a really good agent means that you explain the documents that your buyers or sellers are signing so they understand that it's just not that we want you to sign these papers. It's because they're very, very important. And again, as Carmen stated, we want to be kept out of court. We want to keep our sellers out of court. We want to keep our buyers out of court. And a lot of agents haven't experienced what it's like to get a subpoena in the mail, nor have they experienced when their clients are so irate that they'll never talk to you again or they want to sue you. Once that happens to you, then you'll realize how important paperwork really is, not only to the agent, the buyers and the sellers, but to our office and to Mel, myself, and to Carmen, because we are all liable for the things that we don't sign or sign improperly. That's all I have to say.
Right.
I was
And-
telling Michael, the way I do it is basically I send them the documents in a PDF attachment well before we're gonna have our conversation, and I mention it in the email. This is for you to review prior to our review, but please go through, highlight anything that's an exceptional question to you. That way, when we do talk and we go over everything, not only did we go over everything, I gave you hours to take a look at this stuff. So that, because that way you don't have to hear anything later. Because that's kind of a pressure, like, oh, I need you to e-sign this. And they're gonna read 2 documents and then just say, forget it, and e-sign the rest without reading the rest.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking to you about it, Andy, I mean, the big thing is you use the word understand, like you want them to understand it. And I think some agents look at it as, oh, I just want to get the paperwork done, not thinking about that, okay, what is the paperwork has some meaning behind it. It's not just for the heck of it. The
And
other
it's
thing
like
that Marie
someone
said
got
that
sued or
you're saying
something in
also
those
you used
disclosures.
what was that, Carmen?
Someone got sued over something in those disclosures. That's why CAR put them together.
Right. Every question on the TDS or SBQ is because someone sued somebody.
Well, that's why the transaction has grown from a couple of pages to how many pages now, Carmen? The normal transaction?
30.
Yeah, we have a good 250 to 300 pages.
Okay, each file. Remember, it used to be 3 or 4
Between the-
pages. The
Between
whole
the NH
transaction.
report and the home inspection and the escrow instructions and the prelim disclosures, RPA. Yes,
Well,
it's a good
Yeah, but in
200.
terms of what's signed, it's probably like, let's say 30. But
Yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah, it is a lot.
30 to 50.
Yeah.
And I was speaking of just the disclosure part, but yeah. Okay, I guess I'm going to go back to Carmen and Marie for just a second. So do you have any pet peeves?
Uh-oh.
Well,
Okay, so
Okay,
my,
I'll take it, Carmen. Pet peeves. Number 1, label whatever you put in. Don't just have the scan number on there so we have to open it and try to decide what it is. It's so easy just to name the document that you're uploading into .loop. The other thing is, and I got this from Jamie at Escrow, do not detach all the pages on the RPA or the RLA. CAR has put them together for a reason. We need to keep them in that same order, because then it just makes it harder for us to look for that one piece of paper that the AD or the possible representation of more than one buyer, you took it apart and you stuffed it in some other thing in the disclosure. It's so much more difficult to try and find it. So keep your transactions or your RLA and your RPA together the way CAR has them on zip forms. And if you can keep most of your files in one PDF, that sometimes is helpful, but everyone does it a little differently. The other thing for Carmen and I, we are not mind readers. We do not know that you have a transaction that's signed and executed unless you let us know. We're always like going, oh, they have a deal. Oh, wow, look at that. That came in. And then sometimes the labeling on the dot loops, we have no idea if it's your PED form. That doesn't generally mean that you have a transaction open. It just means that you showed a property. So we need to have a little bit more communication so that Carmen can do her job. And then we don't have that last minute rush to try and figure out, you had a transaction, where is it? So just because you put it in dot loop, yes, it alerts us, but sometimes the alerts, we're not sure if it's really a transaction or just an offer that you're presenting and then it never came to fruition. So we just need a little bit of communication on that part. Carmen, do you have any pet peeves?
On the RPA page 8, when there's counter offers, a lot of times, you know, we forget to check the box that the transaction is subject to a seller multiple counter. And even on the buyer counters, when you guys represent buyers, we also need to make sure that we check. I know it's really difficult with digital now, everything being digital and having to add that extra check mark. But
Right.
it's really important because if you don't check that box on the RPA, then that
Right.
means that whatever additional terms were countered,
Oh,
your counter is not valid.
correct.
And
I was subpoenaed once and asked that question if I would be a witness, or what do they call it when they call you
Expert
up?
witness?
Expert witness, thank you. To see if it was the norm to check the box on a counter offer, because someone actually sued a seller and said, hey, you wrote me a counter, but you never checked this box. Therefore, my original offer that I presented to you is valid because you
Wow.
never checked the box on the page 10 of the RPA. That has
Wow.
been stuck in my mind ever since they asked me to do that, because I'm thinking we take this so lightly that this is a contract, it's binding. And if you get a buyer or seller who's really a little bit out there and they decide to sue us, that's going to
No,
be
that's
one of the
not good.
first things they're going to look for.
Yep,
Okay.
I agree.
Is it okay to, we're the agent that's checking it off. I mean, I just go in and add, if it's on dot loop or on DocuSign, I just add me as the contributor that checks the box off. That's, as opposed to the seller doing it. So that makes it easier, right?
That's a good idea. Because the seller's not gonna know to check it, but you're also supposed to date it, by the way.
Yeah.
Not just
So,
check it.
so you put a text
Put the
box.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's a really good idea to make sure it doesn't get missed. Or if you represent the buyer, if you see that it's not checked, your transaction could be, it's being jeopardized. So make sure you let the other agent know.
I don't want to spend too much time on this question, but from what Marie said about when they take the contract apart, I mean, what percentage of people do that? And where do you think that came from? Why take the contract apart if it's, I don't know.
I would say 10 to 15%.
10 to 15%?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm not
and
sure
I think
how they do it. I don't understand it either till this date. I mean,
I
they're
think
together.
I think it's taken apart because they print it out and then they have their people sign it in person, and then the pages get mixed up.
Yeah,
That's probably the main reason why it's taken apart. Or they print it out and then they decide to scan each page individually for each form. Those are the only two reasons I can think of that it's not together. But like I said, escrow wants it together. So if escrow wants it together, we need to help escrow as well as Carmen to keep it together as
Right.
one file.
Right.
right. Or if you represent the buyer that the other agent didn't send those additional supplements, the BIE, the PRBSW, the wire fraud advisory, then, call the other agent and tell them, hey, we need the rest of the documents to complete the RPA.
Right. One last question. I guess in preparing for this, I was trying to think why people, maybe some don't do paperwork. And I mean, there's different reasons. Each person has maybe a different personality. Maybe some people are more detailed than others. That's one thing. I get that. Another is the person says, I'm too busy. And that's one aspect. The next aspect of that is that they think it's not important. Like, so maybe the agent just doesn't understand that. That would be the third thing. But the last one, and it came up yesterday in talking with the two of you, was technology. You know, we've thrown around .loop here. We've thrown around digital ink, DocuSign. And I think for some, maybe it's just not either scared of it, or, oh, I don't want to learn it, or I don't know and don't want to ask. But it's something that if that's what's holding you back, by all means, come see Carmen, come see Marie, come see me, and you know, we'll walk you through it. So it's
Michael also has a really good video that he recorded on disclosure. So if you want to, you know, get a copy of it, Michael could, remember, Michael, those videos that,
Yes.
that you,
you
and
know,
there's one on disclosures that I love. I love that video.
yeah, and I should make it public on my YouTube. It's not public, so I'll change it to public so you don't have to text me for it.
Well, shouldn't it be on our 24-hour real estate admin part site?
So
Whatever
I
I
can
just
copy
said.
the links. I just don't. So I'll talk to Joey and Carmen about that so we can put it on there. I mean,
On the private.
yeah.
Right, in the private, so
private
that
Facebook.
any new agent that comes, you're not, you know,
Having to,
yeah, redo it. That's part of the training, right?
Correct.
that's right. There you go. The
Um,
other one's the .loop. Carmen and I made a video about .loop, and I had a bunch of aha moments making that video with Carmen that I didn't know. I learned a lot from it.
one comment, Michael, from me.
Mhm.
If you write an offer and the offer is rejected, did you know that we have to keep that offer for 3 years? How many people just discard it?
Um,
Okay, just for your info. So we have a special folder that I keep all the rejected offers. So in case that we get audited by the Department of Real Estate, we can show that we have rejected offers.
You know how
Okay.
many offers have been rejected? You're about
I
to
know,
get-
Andy.
You're
I
about to
know.
get about 800 offers.
I used to be getting a lot of rejected offers, and Carmen used to have them also under the folder. Now we get none. Okay, so that's a reminder for you guys. Just forward it to us. That's all. It's all electronic now, right? So just forward that to Carmen, and she can put it under the rejected, cancel, whatever folder we need to put it in.
We can upload it to the rejected offers loop.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Maybe we can create another thing in .loop that we can store all those there.
We'll call it Graveyard.
Graveyard,
Yeah,
yeah, whatever.
That's what I was
Or-
thinking,
or
maybe
dead.
if you could have your own graveyard.loop, rejected offers, call it rejected offers folder, and just
Right.
throw out rejected offers in there. Every time an offer is rejected, because you send it out to get signed electronically, so just remember to upload it to your Andy's rejected offers.
You know, the same thing applies for cancel listings, expired listings, which now we don't have many anyway, but we all supposed to keep it for 3 years. Okay, and I don't really push for it, because I know when you have 800 offers, rejected offers, it's kind of a big task. But if you do it at the time that you are getting your offer rejected, it shouldn't be a big deal. Just put it in the dead file. Okay.
Well, also, if you're the listing agent, you probably have all of the offers in your email.
Right.
So if you have folders in your email, you should be keeping them in there. And I mean, some don't ever get responded to, or they're, you know, they don't get a counter offer, but you still have
Right.
the original offer in your folder.
Yeah. The law in real estate is that anything that requires a signature from a client needs to be kept for 3 years, whatever that is. Okay,
I've always wondered, and it's come up before. Specifically, I remember when they changed the SBSA. So I've never understood why, if a seller has to sign, let's just say 40, 50 page sign and or initial, and date and whatever, let's say at the time of a listing. Most of the pages they have to sign or initial acknowledge some way, but there's a few at the beginning. And then, for example, the SBSA is the long one. When it went from 9, 10 pages to 14 or whatever, they took off the initials at the bottom. I think that, and everything from the FERPTA to everything, I think that every single page that gets put in front of them, whether it's a seller's page, seller's advisory, buyer's, whatever, buyer's inspection, they should sign, initial every single page. I don't understand why some of them, it's just the first page, because that's the actual contractual, and the second and third are explanations. But if they didn't initial the explanations, and they can say that they never knew about them, I never understood from a liability reason why CAR doesn't make everybody sign everything. Whether or not they
Because
actually
they're,
is besides the point. But they actually
but Mario,
yes.
some of them are advisories, and that's the difference. So you have civil section disclosures that need to be signed, and some are just advisory, like the SBSA is just an advisory.
right.
So they're
But-
just supplemental documents. And does anybody ever read the SBSA? I don't think any agents have ever read the 14-page SBSA.
Well, but remember when
But-
it was 9 pages, you had to sign the whole thing. You had to initial every page. And
Yeah, you
nobody
had to
read it.
initial the bottom. right.
Yeah, and nobody read it then anyway. But now it's 14 and you don't have to initial it. And if you really look at the SBSA, it's a synopsis of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they put the initials at the bottom of that? I mean, I understand. Well, I didn't know the difference between an advisory and, like you said, I didn't really realize that. But to me, if it's paperwork in front of them and they're supposed to know about it, how can we ever come back in court and say, well, we gave you that paperwork? If they never initialed it, they could say, well, I didn't know that was behind the thing. You handed me 50 pages. I signed 46 of them. I don't know what the other 5 were. Or in this case,
And that's why we need to meet with them in person and go over them so that they know that. But also, that's a good question for Gov when he comes in, what is it, April?
I always wondered why.
April 6th.
I think we should. I think they should sign everything.
I want to let Gabe had a question.
Oh, okay.
Go, Gabe.
He's
I think Gabe
unmuted.
is muted.
He's got it.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay, a couple of questions. One, I guess that's for both Maria and Carmen. How do you prefer we upload, one PDF or separate PDFs? What's your preference, first of
Good
all?
question.
One PDF.
Okay, so all of the, so following up on that,
And we understand that there's some documents that come later. So those
Right.
could be loose. It's not a
Right.
problem. We're not gonna scold you because there's an additional few documents that are
no, I get it. So
uploaded at the end,
one PDF, but following up on that, we can't call it every single document that we're loading up, so that the name
Okay,
is gonna
so
be.
for example, if you had seller disclosures and you had your TDS, your SPQ, the SBSA, the lead-based paint, et cetera, and you had all those forms signed, you could leave all those in one PDF and put it under disclosures. The
Okay, good,
RPA
'cause that-
should be one PDF under disclosures.
Contract,
If you have a
correct.
a
okay.
buyer counter, seller counter, those can be loose. But reality check is if you're the buyer's agent, you better have that in one PDF if you're sending that to the lender, because no
Okay.
lender likes to have multiple copies of anything. So at one
Yeah,
point in your transaction, you're going to make it one PDF.
I was-
The
I
problem
was
is we have multiple of the same RPA and the same buyer counters and seller counters that are not signed. So
I
it's
get
like,
it.
we got to figure out which is the fully executed one.
I was just
Does that
asking
make sense?
it all makes sense. I was asking what you guys preferred. Okay, second question
Okay.
is, well, I guess it is a question. I start a loop sometimes with the buyer's name and not a property address. And the reason I do that, because we're making offer after offer after offer. So I'm getting a new PED and a new PED and a new PED. Once we have an accepted offer, then I start a loop with that property address. Is that okay to do?
Of course.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
good.
that's fine.
Okay, now my final
But Gabe,
is,
Gabe, can you
Yes.
put like, when you submit offers, can you do like one folder that says Gabe's offers or something? And then in that,
Well, I-
in that
you know-
doc loop folder, you could put the name of your buyer, subfolders for the different names of your buyers, and then that's where you
I
send
put
your,
everything in-
your,
I put everything in that one, on that one loop that has that buyer's name until something gets accepted. And then I start a new loop for the transaction. So that's the way I do it.
I think she's mentioning, if I'm not mistaken, that when you have your kind of like a offers loop, and then each folder, you're gonna create John Doe, then, you know, his PED form under his
Right,
category.
right. It's just still the same loop with different categories. I get it. Yeah, I can do that. And
So
now I,
each folder is a new client
right,
until you can get them to the actual,
to the
no.
real transaction.
yeah.
each folder would be a new property that we're looking at, I would think. I
No,
think-
you could rename the file and just call it the name of the property.
All right. And then lastly, I know I can't be the only one that doesn't remember all these acronyms. Can we get a list of acronyms like in alphabetical order? So we don't have to go searching.
Gabe,
that a-
that's a very good idea.
Is
That's
that
a
a
that's a
possibility?
very good idea.
Doesn't the car website give you all that information?
Oh, here's the thing. I don't want to have to keep going to the call website every time I forget one. I like to glance over and say it's right there, you know? See, this is great, but when you guys are mentioning certain ones, I had to look down the list because it's not an alphabetical order, so I don't know what's what, you know? I'm just trying to save everybody time. I don't know.
So we're gonna make, it's gonna be called Gabriel Index.
Just call it the dumb
The cheat
acronym.
sheet.
We'll get that to you.
Go ahead, Elisa, if you have a
Just a
question.
suggestion, that's all.
Yeah, I have one question. So say I have a new contract, okay, and I put it on the board, etc., like you guys are saying. Then nobody knows of the deal, and I uploaded it to .loop. At that point, should I press share, like to Carmen? That way Carmen will know it's a new deal instead of calling Carmen. Because I noticed we could do that.
Yes, you
Carmen.
could click there. That's an option. That's the beauty, or it allows you to send a message that
Yes.
goes directly to me and Marie. It has
Yes.
the little, Michael, it has on the top right corner
Mhm.
Going.
of your .loop.
I just did it the other day and I put a comment, new deal, and I shared.
Yes,
And then,
I
Okay,
see it.
there.
So you see it at the very top, Michael, right here,
mhm.
next to the flag. Right there, notes, click. And then usually my name pops up. I don't know why my name is not popping up.
So
Oh.
it says I need a recipient.
Oh, that it used to auto populate whatever agents were in the transaction.
Ah.
Yes, it's strange. It shouldn't be doing this.
So,
Right,
but if
Marie?
I.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just did it in my
Okay,
last deal.
yes, you could click
worked
share.
good.
You could click share. Yes. You could click share right here at the little dots on the side.
Okay. On the right. Okay.
And I
Good
had
question.
one more thing. I had one more question. Well, maybe it's not a question or just maybe it's an idea. I get a lot of deals where, the TC sometimes sends me a timeline, say I'm representing the buyer, etc. And sometimes I'll get these emails from escrow coordinators, or these are your timelines, you know, like for everything in the transaction. Even somebody would send you timelines of disclosures or when they're supposed to go in. Have we ever had anything like that to help all the new agents, or even myself as a reminder in the beginning of the deal?
Go ahead.
Yes, definitely. Yes, we have that.
We do?
But
Okay.
yeah, so she does that on every one, I thought.
I
don't-
believe you do it on the task list, don't you, Carmen, on the bottom of the loop?
That's usually where it's found, yes.
But
So
so do you send me a timeline because I asked for it, or do you do that for everyone?
Uh-oh,
it's
watch how you answer this.
I barely found
It's
out
not-
about the task list yesterday, and I was like, oh God, I never even knew that, you know? But I was just thinking a
But
timeline
yes,
would be
we'll
nice.
definitely. Yes, definitely.
Got it. Oh,
Yeah,
so
'cause
transaction timelines here.
Oh,
Wow.
cool. I never knew that.
Oh,
Wow. So there you go.
Thank you.
So,
you guys have to really
Oh,
appreciate all the
okay.
work and effort that Carmen does to take
¿Cómo
care of our
así?
transactions.
te
So I got
ofrecieron 4.25.
they got
Thank
4
you,
days
Carmen.
Yeah, 4 days.
on
Oh, yeah, 'cause
Guatemala.
It was a 10-day escrow, no?
Yeah, 10-day contingency, yeah.
I
All
thought I
right.
saw in the counter that it was a 10-day escrow as well.
No, it's 10 days for the buyer to give up their life. And it's like a 3-week escrow. Yeah, but yeah. So
I'll revise that then. I guess I misread.
anything else? Any comments?
I think it was a very good meeting, Michael. We
Good.
did that.
Good.
Refresher.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you all for joining.
Okay.
Thank
Hey,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Michael.
you.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Welcome.